Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's wellness webinar. My name is Jeff Crabb. I'm the Director of Marketing here at ZYTO, and we're glad that you're able to join us, whether you're here live or you're joining us later on YouTube or somewhere else. We're glad that you're able to take time to watch this webinar today. We have a great practitioner here today with us, James Roark, who will actually be providing the presentation for today, and it's going to be awesome. So I hope you stay through the entire presentation. It's going to be awesome. I want to share a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today. It's going to be how sensitivities affect lifestyle and how lifestyle affects sensitivities. And like I said, that'll be presented by James Roark. A couple of things that we want to just bring to your attention and make you aware of. If you haven't heard already, ZYTO is hosting regional events all throughout the world this year in 2020. And our next upcoming ones, both domestic and international, our first one will be in Dallas, Texas on March 14th. And Melbourne, Australia will be taking place on April 19th. Those are the next upcoming ones. We actually have an entire schedule outlined online. If you want to learn more about these events, go to ZYTO.com/events, and there you can learn about where we'll be, as well as the content that will be discussed in these events. They're super valuable. This year we have altered a lot of the agenda items that we're going to be going through. It's a full day event, and our goal is to help support you in marketing objectives, how to present yourselves, go through a lot of just business building opportunities with ZYTO, and how to really leverage and build a business strictly around ZYTO. It's going to be awesome. Like I said, it's a full day event, free lunch, and networking opportunities. We hope to see you, whether you're not able to make these upcoming ones in an area near you. Be sure to check out that webpage on ZYTO.com to learn more and register there. These wellness webinars are super important to ZYTO. We put these together on a monthly basis. I believe this is like our 26th or 27th one that we've actually done. And really the ultimate goal and objective here is to help provide wellness information for health professionals within the ZYTO community, but also outside. And so these are this is an educational platform for idea sharing and talking about really challenges that are facing all of us all throughout the world, and learning about and highlighting certain practitioners and their approaches to wellness. We want to share those perspectives on a variety of wellness topics. So we've covered a whole wide array of topics and things like that. We've hosted things from goal setting all the way to, like today, we're talking about sensitivities, and it'll be awesome. We hope that you're able to, if you haven't had the chance to attend previous ones, those are also available online as well. We also encourage you to learn about the tools that you may currently own of ZYTO, whether it's from our most basic systems of the Compass or the Balance, all the way up to the Elite, and moving into the EVOX, and really learning how ZYTO technology can, when incorporated in such a way, can really enhance your ability to discover new avenues to achieve wellness. And ZYTO's been around for this is our 16th year in business, and really learning about a lot of the capabilities of the technology is important. And like I said, it can be totally transformative to a practitioner when used appropriately. It's awesome. I think it's also important to create this network of users, and I think that's another important thing. This wellness webinar, where we may not be able to make it to your hometown every year, this is an important way to help build out this community. Today's presentation will feature James Roark, who I actually had the privilege of meeting several years ago, and I've maintained contact with him through the years. James is a wonderful practitioner. He's been around ZYTO for a long time, and he'll share a little bit, I'm sure, about how he came to get to know ZYTO. But James is a certified herbologist and reflexologist. He is a health food store owner, and he consults others in retail health food store ownership. And in addition to that, he specializes in emotional health, which obviously our EVOX system helps support that component of wellness. And he also is a specialist in food and airborne sensitivities. And an approach that he takes is SETDB, which he'll help clarify a little bit about what that is here in just a little bit. But he's been in this industry for many years and has a lot of expertise, and we're excited to learn more about sensitivities today.
All right. Well, thank you for this opportunity. I feel honored for ZYTO to contact me and allow me to do this. So let me just give you a brief history. I'll take you back 58 years. When I was 8 years old, 50 years ago, that's hard to believe. 8 years old, my mom and dad set us down in the living room and said, hey, we're going to do something that's not cool. We're going to open up a health food store. Now get this, 50 years ago in Ohio. And I said, okay, let's do this. So the family agreed, and so that's how I actually got started. Was I grew up in this industry, grew up in health and wellness. So then I'm going to be very quick. 15 years later, my wife and I decided to carry on the tradition, so we opened up our first health food store. And interesting enough, we had the store for 3 years and had an opportunity to take our vision actually on a grander scale. So we actually was able to sell our store, and then we started a consulting business to where we actually travel the country, opening up health food stores for other people. And I always like to use the motto, what we're doing is we're training and educating people to train and educate people, rather than just having a focus on our local market. And then now I'm going to bring you all the way to the future minus 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were introduced to ZYTO, which I got to tell you, literally changed the dynamics of everything we have done. So happy and pleased that we were able to get in contact, connect with ZYTO. Then from that moment forward, 4 years ago, we actually was introduced to SetDB, and that actually set me on the course of the direction I wanted to go, and that was to work with sensitivities and allergies. So that's a little bit of brief history of our course through this time of the last 50 years.
I think you've learned a lot. You have a lot to offer. One cool thing about James is this SetDB, if you haven't heard of that before, what does SetDB stand for, James?
Stands for Sensitivity Elimination Treatment by Dr. Booth.
Yeah. So Dr. Booth was actually recently featured on this wellness webinar series. So if you haven't had a chance to look into that, we'd recommend that wellness webinar as well. But today we're obviously going to be diving into how sensitivities affect lifestyle and how lifestyle affects sensitivities. So it's a pretty, it'll give us a better understanding about the impact of day-to-day life, and James will obviously share his expertise to that. So we're excited to learn a little bit more from you today, James.
Well, thank you. So should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I titled it Sensitivities and How They Affect Our Lifestyles, and Lifestyle and How They Affect Our Sensitivities. So starting with the first portion of that, I want to share a few testimonies, starting with peanuts. I had a child that was 10 years old, and he came to us and had a severe allergy reaction to peanuts. We were able to, through SetDB, to take him and basically give him his life back. His life was tormented with EpiPens everywhere. So just the horror of having to deal with such a traumatic lifestyle is just huge. Then on the other side, I had a lady, 76 years old, and all she ever wanted to do was eat bananas. So we were able to, I remember the day we owned a cafe there in Florida at the time, and I remember the day that we actually hit on fruits, basically cleared fruits, and she was downstairs first thing right off the bat into our cafe, enjoying one of our favorite drinks. It's called the Mocha Monkey, which is basically bananas, caffeine, of course, and it had some chocolate in it. But I mean, she was so excited for that. So it's been quite a journey. When it comes to animals, had a young man come to us, had a brand new puppy for Christmas. Yet when he went to pet the ball of fur, he broke out into hives. So the parents came to us and said, hey, we need help. We'd like for our son to be able to enjoy his Christmas present. And another example was a child went to New York on vacation with his family. And he couldn't even go outside because of the airborne allergens, with the firs and the pine trees and the grasses and the ragweeds. So it's been quite an eye-opening adventure for us.
I was just going to say something. I'm curious. Do you know, this is a random statistic, but I bet it would surprise us how many people are affected by sensitivities like this, you know? And I don't know if you have any idea of what that looks like.
Well, I've got a great idea. In fact, I've got a lot of statistics that I'm going to be sharing on those subjects and the numbers. And I think it's going to blow your mind how many individuals that do suffer from airbornes and food sensitivities as well. So here's some stats and facts if you want to get into that. I got to tell you straight up, we're in the midst of an allergy explosion. But let's just start with some facts and figures. The CDC has reported that food allergies in kids have doubled in the past decade, and peanut allergies have tripled. Schools are creating separate classrooms and special tables at lunchrooms for children with peanut allergies. Here's the annoying fact. What happened to the peanuts on airplanes? Each year in the U.S. alone, 200,000 people require emergency medical care for allergic reactions to food. Think about that. 200,000 people here in America. Every 3 minutes, a food allergy reaction sends someone to the emergency room. Allergies to nuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish are generally lifelong. See, there's a lot of sensitivities and allergies that as time goes on, as we get older, they tend to disappear. But there's some that are literally lifelong. I had a man came to me and he had a sensitivity to shrimp. It's quite interesting. I said, well, surely, well, tell me the story. And he started by telling me he was in Vietnam and how he had ate shrimp 3 times and all 3 times became violently ill. So he came back to the States and his daughter says, well, Dad, let me fix you shrimp. Dad says, no, I cannot. I have a high allergic reaction to shrimp. And sure enough, of course, the daughter said, well, maybe it was because if you'll take it, the source, they're in Vietnam. And sure enough, he spent 30 minutes violently throwing up, eating shrimp. So he came to me, and in his lifetime, he had only eaten shrimp 4 times in his lifetime, and it had been 10 years since he had eaten any shrimp. So when I scanned him, the results came that he was still highly sensitive. So that is truly shellfish can be a lifelong threat to most people. Childhood hospitalizations for food allergies tripled between 1990 and into the mid-2000s. More than 40% of children with food allergies have experienced severe allergic reactions such as anaphylactic shock. And this was going back to the child that had peanut allergies. Literally, his dad could eat peanuts and breathe in this child's face, and his face would swell. So that's a true allergy when it comes to peanuts. Medical procedures to treat anaphylactic shock resulting from food allergies increased by 380% from 2007 to 2016. So those are facts and figures on food sensitivities. Let's move on to airborne. Roughly 7.8% of people 18 years and older in the U.S. have hay fever. According to the CDC, 1 in 13 people have asthma. That's 25 million Americans, or 7.7% of adults and 8.4% of children. Asthma has been increasing since the early 1980s in all ages, sex, and racial groups. Asthma is more common in adult women than adult men. More than 11 million people with asthma, including more than 3 million children, report having 1 or more asthma episodes or attack in 2017. These are astounding figures. Facts in children, let's continue. Asthma is the leading cause of chronic disease in children. I want to say that again. Asthma is the leading cause of chronic disease in children. Asthma is more common in boys than girls, and currently there are about 6.2 million children under the age of 18 with asthma. In 2017, 1 in 12 children had asthma. It is get this, it is one of the top reasons for missed school days. In 2013 alone, about 13.8 million missed school days were reported due to asthma. And this is, isn't that amazing?
That's a lot.
And this is what I mean by our sensitivities affecting our lifestyles. This is alarming. So here's some more statistics. Asthma accounts for 9.8 million doctor visits a year, 188,000 discharges from hospital and patient care, 1.8 million emergency department visits each year. Asthma is the third ranking cause of hospitalization among children younger than 15. African Americans are 3 times more likely to be hospitalized from asthma. Here's a lifestyle disruptor. Each day, 10 Americans die from asthma. And in 2017, 3,500 people died from asthma. This is serious statistics. Adults are more likely to die from asthma than children. So this is not just a childhood disease. This is affecting our adults as well. So there's your statistics. It's astounding.
So I have a question regarding this. What if, what's been your experience when someone begins to have maybe the thought that they may have a sensitivity that they may be unaware of? As young kids, obviously dairy sensitivities, or one big thing right now is a wheat sensitivity. All these different types of things that are happening right now. What's kind of your recommended protocol that you take someone through that may be curious about understanding if they're a victim of this sensitivity, and how do you kind of bring them in, and what's that intake process look like for you?
The intake process for me is to, first of all, let's identify what the actual sensitivities are. And that's where I use the ZYTO technology. And I am basically assessing the body using frequencies. And we do what we call a full food sensitivity scan. And it's one of the biosurveys on ZYTO. And at that point, I'm going through the report. We're basically analyzing and say, okay, and then we're looking at it. And then, of course, they're identifying with the results. And at that point, that's when they, I show them an opportunity to be able to desensitize. A lot of people think that there's no hope. The first thing they think of, oh, my Lord, I've got to do without this food. Or I've got to cut this out of my diet. Yeah. When in reality, you don't have to. I have people all the time, they may be allergic to spinach. And they're telling me, wait a minute, I thought spinach was healthy for you. I get that comment 90% of the time. They may be sensitive to almonds. Oh my Lord, almonds are healthy. I eat them every day. So I tell people, I said, look, just because it's a healthy food does not mean you're not sensitive to it. So don't equate the quality of the food to the sensitivity.
Okay.
And so once I've basically addressed their sensitivities, then honestly I give them hope. Said, we can help you with this. And so that's how I approach it. And then we go into the full collections of what to do for it.
I love this. This is an ideology that we try to teach so often here at ZYTO, which is, you leverage the value of a ZYTO scan. Although it's not the diagnostic component, ZYTO is not going to tell you it's not an allergy test, right? We're not saying, oh yeah, you have an allergy, an almond allergy or things like that. But your intake process is, yes, a ZYTO scan can provide energetic responses through frequency analysis, right?
Yes.
And then you take that, asking further questions and inquiring more of that individual. to help create some sort of an action plan. I love that. And it's not just with this food sensitivities. I think it's an important thing to understand that when you're running a ZYTO scan, whether it's a hormone imbalance or it's a digestive health or just lifestyle in general, that it goes through that kind of intake process. ZYTO provides, insights into certain data points of frequency response, energetic response. Practitioners add their value and of their knowledge base, whatever that entails, right? In your case being the food sensitivities. And then there's a conversation that happens between a practitioner and that individual to really create some sort of an action plan. And I love how you really want to inspire hope in these individuals that they don't have to live with these types of, we kind of as a society have lingered in the thought process that, we just have to suffer through life. And that's not the reality that we need to live in anymore. It's really that we can do something about it. It's empowering, isn't it?
It is. I guess the number one diet that people think of, oh my Lord, I've got to do what they call elimination diet. That seems to be the favorite diet is, elimination diet. Well, let's just eliminate this from the diet. Let's eliminate this from the diet. And I want to touch on something you said about the ZYTO. My process is I use the ZYTO for information, but then I turn around and I asked my client, and my client is diagnosing. I don't diagnose. My client is. For an example, do you have, I'm looking at the results. Do you have any issues when you drink dairy? Oh my Lord, yes I do. I get bloated. So here they're going through the whole diagnosis process. I'm not.
Right. Yeah, Dr. Cook always says the really ZYTO technology is only as valuable as the people who use it, right? So the greater your understanding of the information that's provided, the more value you'll find in the scans and really the action plan that falls out from that. I think that you're right on to something there, James. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. But I learned that from Dr. Cook.
There you go. What goes around comes around,
Yes, it does. So now we're going to do the flip side here, lifestyles affecting our sensitivities. We shared a lot of information as far as the sensitivities and affecting, disrupting our lifestyle, but let's look and see how we've basically come about with these sensitivities, which I want to share a short story very quickly. This child that had a peanut allergy, he was tested at the hospital at the time of birth, and he had 32 of 33 allergies that the hospital had tested him for. He was allergic, and I'm using the word allergic because that's straight from the hospital's diagnostics. Allergic to 32 of 33, including his own mother's milk.
Wow.
And here's what's interesting is we're sitting there and we're counseling the mom and dad, and I'm sitting there and I'm all technical. I'm all up into the technical part of it. Well, you got this to sensitivity and we can take care of that. My wife, on the other hand, is looking straight at the mom, and she's asking all of the emotional questions. So how was your pregnancy? Well, what do you mean, how was my pregnancy? I was fine. The husband says, you're lying. You were miserable. You didn't even want to be pregnant with this child. And so my wife is connecting the emotion to the child's sensitivities.
That's incredible.
And, I always like to cause people to think, but there's one to ponder on. Why would a child at birth be sensitive to so many things, including his own mother's milk? Mm-hmm. There's a backstory behind that, and then we'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. I think that's another important thing is as we kind of go through this. ZYTO has a what we call our triad of wellness that we talk about, and it's not looking at it from just one frame of thought or one area, right? We're looking at it through energetic responses, functional responses, and emotional responses. And all of these things are triangulated in such a way they're so closely knit together that it would be impossible to strictly look at it from one perspective without considering the other. And I think that's wonderful of your wife to be considerate of the emotional components of this child's well-being.
Yes, yes, and you have to address all areas. You can't just focus
Absolutely.
on just the physical. You have to address the emotional as well.
Yep. At least for long-term success, I believe that to be true.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. So moving on, 5 ways lifestyle affects sensitivities. So I'm going to touch on each one of these ways here, starting with number 1, longer growing season. Now, there's just some things that we just absolutely cannot change. The statistics are, back after World War II, our growing season has become longer. And also, when you consider all of the different types of growing, now we've got hydroponics, that literally we can grow year round. So we can basically trick the produce or the vegetable into thinking it's summer. I actually saw one farm, it was really cool. This farm actually was saying we can control the sunlight and the darkness in a closed environment to cause that plant to grow faster. So we can shorten the 24-hour cycle, let's say, to an 18-hour cycle. And we can basically grow this tomato year-round. So that's one thing that's causing sensitivities. Another one is a wider varieties of food. You know, used to, you walked into basically 80 years ago, you had maybe a farmer's market, you drove down the road, or horse and buggy, whatever your mode of transportation was, and you saw a roadside stand. There's all the produce right there. That was a diet. But now we walk into a grocery store and we've got the ability to choose, what are you hungry for today? You know what, I want Mediterranean. And I did that. I guess it's fresh on my mind, because 4 days ago I literally told my wife, I said, what I want for supper is I want Mediterranean. I want grape leaves, hummus, tzatziki. And so I got in my car and I went to the grocery store, and there it was. Literally imported straight from Greece or wherever it comes from. So other factors contributing to food sensitivity. I'm going to go through these one at a time. Digestion. Now, digestion is interesting. And I'll start with animal protein. Animal protein, if we don't have the proper digestive enzymes to break down our foods, period. And protease, of course, is the digestive enzyme that breaks down animal proteins. They enter our body as a what we call an undigested protein, which basically causes food sensitivities. My train of thought is we should really eat about 80 to 85% raw foods. That's where we're going to get most of our enzymes. So that's very important, is to address the digestive system. Make sure that we're getting proper enzymes if we're not on a large portion of raw foods diet. Number 2, leaky gut. We're all aware of what leaky gut can cause. But number 3, imbalance in our microbiome. These are important things that we just need to address. And again, diet can address all of this. However, there are supplements that are available that you can take that would take care of these issues. Number 4, stress. The higher level of stress we have, the more our body is able to resist sensitivities. If we're living a lower stress life, then we could actually, interesting enough, our sensitivities aren't as high. Now, number 5 is the one that I would like to spend some time on. It's called diet. And it's interesting. Anytime I go through a food sensitivity scan, then I'm educating my client on diet. They'll look at me and say, wait a minute, why am I sensitive to that? So I start asking them, okay, let's take almonds for instance. Why would you be sensitive to almonds? Well, every day I drink a protein shake. I use almond milk. I'm thinking that's a healthier thing to do, and it is, rather than dairy products. But when you eat things on a regular basis every day, our bodies build sensitivities to them. So there's 3 diets we should consider: rotational, seasonal, and regional. Now, rotation means things in variety. I mean, again, it goes back to the grocery store. We go to the grocery store, we see tomatoes there. They're grown year round now. Not taking into consideration, where did that tomato come from? Did it come from Mexico? All the grocery store knows is, if I have to go all the way to Peru to get tomatoes, I'm going to bring them in because my clients, they're hungry for tomatoes and they eat them every day. That's called a rotational diet. Now here's a good clue. If you want to know what's in season, okay, well let's go to seasonal. There's those tomatoes year round, they're in the store. The best place we should shop for our produce is we should go to a local farmer and say, hey, I want to buy some tomatoes. And here's what that farmer's going to tell you. Sorry, boy, no tomatoes, too hot. There's your clue. As Jeff Foxworthy would say, there's your sign. Okay, stay away from tomatoes. They're out of season. And that's truly the way we should eat. So let me give you a couple examples. Apples should be a fall tree. Now think about that for a minute. They're grown in the fall. Apples should be a fall tree. Strawberries. I lived in Florida. We had a big strawberry festival. It wasn't 365 days a year. It was centered around strawberry season. So there's a couple examples of what I mean by seasonal. So let's go to regional. Of course, I lived the last 12 years in Florida. And interesting enough, our bodies adapt to what's locally grown. So whenever you hear locally grown foods, that's what that means. We should have enjoyed an abundance of tropical fruit. That's the way our bodies adapt. So back to 3 types of diet: rotational, things in variety, things in moderation, seasonal, and regional. I think it's very important.
So I have a question on that. What is your thought when it comes to adding meat source into your diet, where that it's not necessarily dependent on weather or climate or things like that? What does that look like as part of this thought process?
And we're talking specifically animal protein.
Yeah, animal proteins. Yep, exactly.
My train of thought is our diets really should be 80 to 85% raw foods, 10 to 15% animal proteins. So I'll just give you a short story. There was a lady that had been diagnosed with uterus cancer. So her husband decided we're going to make some lifestyle changes. So they lived in Philadelphia. So they moved out to the country. They did not change their diet, but what they did do is he walked up to the local farmer, looked out in the field, said, "How much you want for that cow?" He bought the whole cow, hauled it to the butcher, and that was their meat source. So a lot of times it's the industry, it's the way our meats are processed. So that's my thoughts. And it should, again, be 10 to 15% of our diets.
Yeah, brilliant.
I heard a naturopathic doctor say one time, when it comes to portion, 1 bite of meat to 3 bites of vegetables. Very simple. Take 1 bite of meat. The next 3 bites need to be vegetables. Grass-fed, definitely. Grass-finished. Well, again, you know what? Taking out of the equation the grass-fed and the grass-finished, again, if you're on a local farm and you walk up, you can count on it. That grass or that cow has been eating grass.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thoughts on animal proteins.
Yeah, I thank you for answering it. I think it's super valuable to know that.
So if we're ready to move on, I'd like to talk about a real solution. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in fact, let's just go to the next slide. Most medical profession approach is series of painful shots, allergy meds, and for the most part, deal with it. That's basically what's going on. Let's put you on meds for the rest of your life, just to basically subside the symptom. And I think that's what's really helped me in my practice is I've gotten so many people that come to me and they've lost hope. They come to me, first of all, to know what they can't eat. But then when I'm able to tell them, says, look, you don't have to live this way. And so that's where the holistic approach that I have taken is basically desensitizing the body from the sensitivities. So now, I mention the word sensitivities a lot because what we're working with is from an energetic level rather than the immune system. We're working with sensitivities more so than the allergy. I like to sometimes, and this may be a very rough way of describing allergies versus sensitivities, but to me, a sensitivity could potentially cause an allergic reaction. So from a fifth grade level, a sensitivity is a noun. An allergic reaction is an actual action or a verb. Does that make sense? Okay, so the way we approach this is from an energetic level rather than the immune system response. So when we do a scan with a ZYTO, we're testing for VI, virtual items, and then we're approaching it from the energetic level. We're not testing for levels of sensitivity. We're just simply getting some information, gathering some information. Then at that point, we take it from there and we're stimulating the nervous system, or basically waking the brain up to basically, in a sense, clear itself or accept that particular sensitivity. So let me summarize here. Sensitivities is a massive epidemic in America, and I think I've showed that through the statistics that I've showed here. But we have the tools to help, and that's the main thing, is we have, as a practitioner, we have the ability to help with those. And I would just encourage you at this, if you have any interest in working with the clients, we've actually formed a support network that if you have any interest at all in working with clients with sensitivities, I would love for you to be able to get in contact with us, have a real conversation. I don't know what's going on in your area. I know what's going on in mine. But I'm here to help in any way I can.
And I really appreciate that, James. I think it's an important part of this ZYTO community that we've built through the years is this idea of collaboration, idea sharing. In the business world, it's maybe more known as like networking. I think networking is an important part of it, but it's really, what are you doing in your area that you're finding success at? And how may I be able to take some of those principles or guidelines that this person has established and implement them in my way of practicing or things like that. So James has obviously been kind enough. You'll see on your screen some of the contact information for him, phone number, email address. This allergy support network, James, can you elaborate a little bit more on that of kind of the thought of why you're creating this and working with this group?
Let me take you back decades ago when we had our health food store here in Fort Worth. We were able to reach probably a 20 or 30 mile radius. Anytime you have a brick and mortar location, then that's what happens is you can only reach out as far as people will drive to you. And so when the greater vision came along of, you know what, we need to be able to help people help people. And that's when a large chain came in and purchased our health food store. So it freed us up to be able to travel and to go and actually train people to be able to work in their own community. So that's what this allergy support network is really all about.
I love that.
I mean, I can only reach so many people. Well, thank you for loving it. I appreciate that. But that's our heart's desire, is to be able to help support other healthcare practitioners to do what I'm doing. Duplication is where it's at. I love the word synergy. I learned the word synergy from a company I've been involved with for I think going on over 30 years. Synergy is 1 + 1 = 3. So let me say that again just in case we missed it. Synergy is 1 + 1 = 3. That means you and I teaming up, and all of a sudden the results are multiplied, not added. This is not addition, this is multiplication. And that's the reason for the Allergy Support Network.
So cool. And I think it's important, I mean, especially in today's world where we're finding and we're realizing how closely related we are to each other, that issues and things like that are happening in one area of the world or a country or even a city can totally impact us in a totally different way. And so, I mean, we're seeing that with world outbreaks of, currently like the coronavirus, what's going on there. All these types of things are a global issue. And I think that if we can help inspire each other to find solutions to challenges that are facing these epidemics that we've talked about today, like food sensitivities and things, I think it's wonderful to do that. And it's a big part of what we're trying to create at ZYTO. I mean, these wellness webinars are one way that we've tried to create that. But in addition to that, we have these regional events that are a great opportunity to get together, idea share, do things like that. I just think it's wonderful. This Allergy Support Network, I'd encourage everyone to go to that website to learn more there. I'm going to throw a couple questions at you right now, James. Is that okay?
Oh, yes. Can I address one thing about the website?
Please, yeah.
So what will happen is when you go to the website, what you'll find is very simple. It's more so of a questionnaire, because we want to know about you. We want to know where are you at? 1, do you own ZYTO equipment? 2, what level? 3, what is your degree of knowledge? Because really it's at all levels. This is not something that's just open just for naturopaths or chiropractors. This is open to anyone at any level. All you have to have is a desire to help, and we can take it from there. So that's what you will find on this website.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've had a couple questions come in that I want to throw at you before we let you go. The first one is, why do you think food sensitivity, I mean, you've alluded to it a little bit throughout the presentation today, but why do you think food sensitivity is more prevalent today than in years past?
Well, I can share just a very small story about that. Let's just take gluten alone. As we all know, gluten has become a major sensitivity. But if you know the backstory, there was a small company, and if you need to delete this out, that's fine, but I'm going to call them by name. Monsanto. They decided that, you know what, if we could increase the amount of gluten in a kernel of wheat, that means that kernel will weigh more and we can make more money out of a bushel of wheat. That happened, I'm going to say, around 20 years ago. So there is one very distinct reason why you see an epidemic when it comes to gluten sensitivities. So I would say that it's because of our whole food industry that's causing a lot of our food sensitivities.
Yeah. I mean, the more we can preserve an item for shelf life and shipping and transportation, I think lends to that as well, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, if you want to know the basics, The highest level of knowledge that anyone needs to know is to go back to the basics. Go talk to a farmer. Just like that lady that had that cancer. I mean, she literally cured herself not by changing her diet, but changing the source of her diet.
Are you comfortable talking about organic, non-GMO? Do you have any comments on that?
I'm very comfortable.
Okay, so let me ask you that question. Another question we got here, James, is do you have any comments regarding organic, non-GMO? What's your position on some of those things?
Well, I'm going to put a plug in for a particular movement that's going on, which I think is very important, and that's called the non-GMO verified. I don't know if you've seen that. It's basically labels.
Yes.
And I think it's important. But I do want to start by saying it is really sad that we have to resort to these things. We should not have to have this conversation about, verification of non-GMO or even organic. And I tell people all the time, go to Switzerland and try to ask them, is your cheese organic? Yeah. They're going to look at you and laugh.
It's just assumed, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they're going to tell you, well, there's the cow, there's the grass, enough said.
Yep.
And so we have to have all these verifications. It's just like, I remember, just to stay up with the times, used to we could get by with eating grass-fed beef. Well, now you can't even trust that. Now it has to be grass-fed, grass-finished. And then it'll be a matter of time before the industry has figured out a way to get around that. And so now we'll have to look for a different type of label. And so that's my thoughts. We have to rely on the certified, and I've had people tell me all the time, well, I don't even believe that certified organic is 100%. And it's not. I mean, I can take you back 15 years ago when all of the regulations changed on organics. And that's when you started finding organics in Walmart. And I tell people all the time, you've got to learn to trust something. So my trust is, at this point in time, certified organics is highly important. I'm not saying it's 100%.
Yeah. But it's our best bet.
It's our best bet. It really is.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to take into account as well, is that ultimately we can drive industry by the choices that we make. It's essentially you're voting every time you go to the grocery store, depending on what products are selected and how you spend your money and what type of product. I mean, if you stop supporting the sale of tomatoes in an off season, it's going to become abundantly apparent that you want, to your point that you made earlier, that you want regional and seasonal decisions to be made and products to be offered by the way that your buying habits help support those ways of thinking.
Yes, absolutely.
So go ahead.
Well, and local farmers markets, I think is the best source.
Yep. So one last question that we have before we let you go, James, is, are there any specific food or supplement items that you think that everyone should incorporate in their daily diet?
Yes, I do. I think gut health is important. I think. Well, so let me say this, and I'm going to just spend just a couple minutes on this particular topic. Sensitivities can actually occur even in our vitamins and minerals. So I think it's important to desensitize from the vitamins and minerals. I wanted to throw that in, and you can take that out if you want to. I'll leave that up to you. But when it comes to supplementation, it's like, and I apologize, I use basic common sense. And when you have a septic system, that septic system will work for years, sometimes 10, 15, 20, 30 years. But when you disrupt or when you kill the bacteria content in that septic system, then that's where you end up having issues. So to take probiotics, a lot of people are on a kick of taking probiotics, and that's good. But the only reason you should take probiotics is if something has been disrupted, and
Yeah.
that disruption is from our diets. So yes, probiotics. There are some supplements out there that's very good. I won't name names particular, that actually repairs the leaky gut syndrome. And again, back to vitamins and minerals. We should not have to take a supplement of vitamins and minerals. We should be able to getting it from our foods. But since
From our diets, yeah.
from our diets.
Yep.
And that's where raw foods provides, and now I'm talking about digestion.
Yep.
Raw foods is where we should get our digestive enzymes from, not overcooked or cooked foods.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered that properly. Yes,
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
sense. Yes, in a sense, we need to supplement, just like the word states, supplement our diet. However, that should not be our main focus.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. Thank you so much. And I think today's presentation has hopefully been super valuable for anyone that's been in attendance with us. James has obviously made himself available, accessible via phone or email, that website as well. If you have additional questions that we didn't or weren't able to get to during this broadcast, we'd encourage you to reach out to him and let's start this movement, right? It's already kind of moving, but if you have additional questions, please reach out to him. And James, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time, putting this together. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you. I feel honored. I feel humbled. I feel honored that ZYTO would reach out to me and allow me to share.
Yeah, and I mean, this platform is incredibly valuable in the sense that, this idea sharing, it's important for us to be able to put people out in front of an audience that have cool ideas or concepts or ways or approaches into solutions that we face as a society. And obviously ZYTO plays an important role in being able to provide information back into that decision-making process. So we thank James for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
As a reminder, we have our 2020 ZYTO regional events posted online on ZYTO.com. And I mentioned this earlier, our next upcoming two that we have one is in Dallas, Texas on March 14th. And internationally, we have one that will be in Melbourne, Australia on April 19th. These are full-day events. They're wonderful networking opportunities. This year, we're really focusing on how to build a business and really marketing concepts around the ZYTO technology and building practices that way. So if you want to learn more and ultimately to register for this event, be sure to visit ZYTO.com/events to learn more and to register. We have a really special March promotion going on right now, both for our ZYTO Balance sales as well as for our professional sales, Select Elite Evox. If you haven't had the chance to learn about thrivemarket.com, now's the time to learn about it. It's really cool. So on thrivemarket.com, you can actually save up to 50% on your favorite organic and non-GMO brands that are actually delivered directly to your door. It's a membership only. And so that's one of the promotions that we're running is we will pay for your first year of membership with the purchase of a ZYTO Balance. It's a $60 value. And that's an awesome value because then it gives you access to have these products delivered right to your door. You don't even have to go to the grocery store. So with a few clicks of the button, you can get those products to your door. With the Select Elite Evox, we offer even more associated with that. So you'll get a year of membership included, but also a $400 store credit to be eligible for when you purchase a Select Elite or an Evox. That will run through the end of this month, so be sure to take advantage of it. It's something new that we've never offered before, and we think it will add a lot of value. I think it's actually very interesting knowing that this wellness webinar has been focused a lot on the nutrition and diet and things like that. I think you'll find a lot of those opportunities will be available through the thrivemarket.com promotion that we have running right now. So if you're not a current ZYTO owner and you want to take advantage of it, or if you own a current system and you're looking to upgrade, this is a great promotion to take advantage of to get into the system that you're looking for. Our next wellness webinar will be hosted on April Fool's Day, actually, April 1st, 2020. 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. It will cover the topic of natural solutions for inflammation. And so we hope that you can join us live. It's a way better experience live if you can attend then. If not, these will be made available shortly thereafter. And we'd always encourage you to share that information out to people that may not know about ZYTO, or just it's a good educational opportunity as well. We'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you at one of these regional events in your area soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.